The next panel that we are going to have kind of takes this philosophy that Jensen just introduced to us about the philosophy, the hard problems of AI. They are very concrete, but for them to come to the next step where the rubber meets the road, that is what the next panel is going to talk about. The title of the next fireside chat is Disrupting the Disruption. AI has definitely changed radically the way that we work, and it is going to accelerate that change even further very fast. With that, it is my great honor to invite on stage Tyson Hartman, the CTO of Infogain, who will introduce the next set of speakers for the fireside chat, Disrupting the Disruption. A big round of applause, everyone, please.
Thank you, Swapnil. And that was an amazing discussion of the future and how technology is going to change our lives. And I really think we should pause and recognize that congratulations are in order. You are the AI generation. This is the group that will lead adoption and drive the application and the usage of all that amazing technology. You are the pioneers who will find the new and creative ways to use this technology to unlock new value across industries. So take a moment and give yourself a round of applause. With that, being a pioneer has challenges. You're going to find adversities, disruptions, have to pivot, make changes. And we're lucky today to have two other industry leaders with a lot of experience to share with us about how they have managed and navigated disruption in their industries as well, and how they look to use AI to be part of that change. So I first want to introduce John Ische. He's the CIO of Apple Leisure Group and president of Tricep Solutions. He's been at Tricep for 35 years and certainly managed a lot of change through that journey. So welcome, John. And secondly, I want to introduce Ravi Nemalikanti. He's the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Abrigo, with over 20 years of experience at NCR and Thomson Reuters. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Let's maybe quickly, each of you, give the audience a better sense of your role in your company and what you do. John?
Yeah, great. I'm John Ische. I'm a Chief Information Officer of Apple Leisure Group. We've been Apple before Apple's been Apple. Our company wasn't just down the road here. It actually was founded in Philadelphia back in the late 60s. I've been a Chief Information Officer for 25 years, so for a very long time. And I really look at my job as how to remove friction from the travel experience. And that comes in so many different ways, especially through technology. So I've got an incredible team that I work with. And Apple Leisure Group is 5 different businesses. Our primary business is beachfront, all-inclusive resorts. We have 125 beachfront resorts in Mexico, the Caribbean, and Spain. We also have a destination experience and transportation company, a vacation club, which is one of the largest vacation clubs in the North American market, as well as a travel technology business that I lead, and lastly, a company that packages air and hotel components into a vacation package. So I get to see the entire travel landscape, and I get to understand the entire customer journey through the IT team that I get to lead.
Great, thanks. That's exciting. And Ravi, more about you?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name's Ravi Nemalikanti. I'm the CTO of Abrigo. And at Abrigo, we help community financial institutions innovate and thrive. So when people generally talk about financial institutions, banks, the usual names that come to mind are the big ones, right? The Capital Ones, the JP Morgans, etc. But the backbone of US are the 8,000 roughly financial institutions that are community banks and credit unions. So if there is a bank in North Dakota that wants an agricultural loan, it's actually going through not the top 10 banks, but a local community financial institution. So what we do for these banks and credit unions is help them run efficiently. So we build products for lending, automation, so they can keep their lending costs low. So the access to financial services across the states is low. The cost of access is low. We build other automation efficiency solutions like anti-money laundering, credit risk models, credit decisioning models, right? So that's what we do. In my role at Abrigo as a CTO, I have a responsibility for both product strategy. So what are we going to build, as well as how are we going to build from a technology and engineering perspective.
That's great, thanks. So, if everyone is an everything company, right? Meaning if every company now is a software company, a digital company, and now we have to be an AI company as well, how are you navigating and balancing your priorities of being everything, everywhere, all at once? John, what do you think?
That's a really great point, because look at the travel business. It is really a technology business about how people experience travel. You take a look at how you shop for travel, how you use the technology throughout the travel experience. In our hotels, it's more about how well we have our Wi-Fi network and how we enable people to use their personal device while they're on property. And so it's a really difficult piece, but I know the fundamental for us as we kind of build this is our architectures. It's architecture and data. And how do we really ensure that our architecture is scalable? How do we make sure that we have the data that we've extracted from these systems? And from my perspective, if you look at who's the winners and losers in this world as we kind of move into AI, it's people that really have architected their foundational systems in a way that allows them to use the artificial intelligence to enable their business. If you aren't able to unlock your data, if you're not able to unlock your APIs to your system, if you're not able to unlock your content that you have and have that in systems that are consumable, that's going to be the differentiator as you kind of look at this technology and how we can actually leverage it more quickly in all of the digital transformation that we're driving.
I think that's a great point, because really the only thing that every company has that no other company has is their data, right? And in your case, that's a great example of if you can't get the data where it needs to be to make the right decision, to create the right experience, you're not going to be successful. Ravi, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you missed a few cycles. We were all distributed ledger companies. We were all data companies. We are now AI companies.
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be an AI company. So look, I think it's really hard to resist the hype cycle. Right? We've heard Jensen and his team talk about what they're doing, like really challenging the laws of physics.
Right, yeah.
And dividing atoms. We are not dividing atoms. Right?
Maybe dividing dollars, but not atoms.
I mean, we work in a very regulated industry, right, in banking. So that gives us a responsibility, or we're held responsible to make sure, to your point around data, how do we make sure that the data is secure? How do we make sure that the way we're using data is ethical, right? So those are the kinds of questions and challenges that we deal with, because once you break the trust that a financial institution has or consumers have in a financial institution, it's really hard to bring that back up, right? So for us, the most important thing is all the innovation that we heard this morning, how do we bring that to these community financial institutions that don't have the wherewithal to build their own LLMs?
Sure.
Right, as an example, but how do we make sure that the partnerships, the ecosystems that we have around us and them to make it accessible, right? So bring those technologies to these institutions.
Yeah, so be everywhere and everything to everybody all at once by getting scale through how people can access your software.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Tyson, maybe make another comment. I've been doing this back to when the World Wide Web, 1995, 1996, the killer app when the Netscape browser was launched. And if you take a look at then people that were winners and losers and what made them a winner and what made them a loser, I see a lot of commonalities between that world and where we are today. Because if you're on the legacy platforms that were restricted, that weren't open, that didn't have a fundamental scalable architecture to grow, those are the people that lost before. And from my perspective, people that still have that same maybe mentality, that haven't really re-architected their system, that haven't dealt with their tech debt. In the travel industry, there's an incredible amount of tech debt. So many systems across the entire travel experience are based on technology that's very old. But if you take a look at who are going to be the winners are people that have already kind of put that foundation in place over the last several years. If you've got your data infrastructure, if you've got your systems that are open, you have APIs, if you have a scalable or orchestration around it, those are the people that are going to win in this world, because the AA models will need to be able to consume data that fast.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is about moving on past that legacy tech debt and really preparing for the future. So let's switch gears a bit and talk about navigating change and disruption. I mean, as you said, John, the travel industry, I think everyone knows, has been through an amazing upheaval with COVID. You know, everything went down and then exploded when it came back up, and now we're finding a new normal. People don't work the way they work anymore. They move around more. They're working remotely. And Ravi, in your world, right, I mean, banking is continually under change, right? The economy is changing, regulations, as you say, constantly changing. So how do you disrupt the disruption? I mean, everyone here is in some type of digital transformation journey. We've been on that for a while. And now it's going to be further disrupted by AI, particularly, I think, generative AI. Are your digital transformation plans changing due to the economy or to new technology like generative AI? Ravi, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think John touched on this. It's really it's just even separating yourself from the latest trend in the technology. Generative AI is revolutionary and all that, right? You put that aside for a moment. Any technology, it goes back to the fundamental capabilities that you built in the company, right? So from a digital transformation perspective, especially with generative AI and the capability that it brings to companies, going back to the basics. Do you have a good data discipline in the company? Right? How are you making decisions, and how are you, like in our industry, for example, do you have a good training data set? Because if you've taken the credit decisioning data from the last, let's say, 5 years, and you use that as the training model data set, you know what comes along with it? The bias, right? So how do you make sure that the data is actually clean? Because this really accelerates, and it's great for decisioning, as an example. And a simple use case that we're working on is when you make a decision on a loan, you have to put out what's called a credit summary. So what are all the different elements that made up that decision, whether it's a denial or an approval? Can you use generative AI to actually build that? The answer is yes, but the hard work is prior to that, right? So how did you actually come to the decision? Do you have a good data practice? Because you can really bring that cycle down, the approval cycle down, but if you end up with a wrong decision, right, you can be in trouble.
Sure, I mean, generative AI generating bad answers,
yeah,
puts you in a really risky position.
Yeah, we've all heard of hallucinations, and it does, right?
Yeah,
if you don't have a good data discipline, if you don't, this is all the negative stuff, right? So there's different ways that you have to curtail that or help at least put guardrails around it. From an acceleration perspective, can you write product documentation easily?
Sure.
Right? Can I put on a 30-second feature video for a new product or feature that we've done, right? So I can actually launch it and have the model generate the whole thing, right? An animated video. Answer is yes, yes, and yes, right? So from that perspective, I do see that applying generative AI, applying the advancements that are happening in the broader space is going to truly transform marketing, customer success, right, and even developer productivity. Right? So this is how we are applying these different levels.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thanks, John. What do you think?
You know, I think it's the hype cycle around ChatGPT and generative AI has been so large that, you know, and it's been great because it set a vision for the future. But a lot of people within my organization, I think another organization, just think they can walk down now and wave the magic wand, and all of a sudden that the AI is going to start transforming their business. And so I think part of this is actually getting more education throughout throughout my organization about what ChatGPT, what AI can do, how is this actually going to be how does it plug into our digital transformation journey, how does this actually accelerate some of the things that we've been working on. But it's not like all of a sudden that, again, it's like the magic wand and all of a sudden we're in the Emerald City. And so I think we really have to kind of work with the business to kind of understand this, but I really see this as a great accelerant. This is going to be accelerating the things that we've been doing of how people experience travel. It's something that's going to take time for us to make this roll out. When I say time, it's not like it's in the foreseeable future. It's not forever.
Right.
But it's something that's just people, the hype cycle around this, that the marketing teams, the operations teams think this is going to be a snap and things will be there right away. And it's a little bit further off. It's in the works, but it's further off.
Yeah, and I think if I think about really both your points, there have to be some guardrails. You can drive adoption, but your adoption becomes disruption if you aren't putting some controls and guide rails and some expectations along the way, right? We're going to say something else, Ravi.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was maybe Steve Jobs that said it, right? If you really want to bring a disruptive technology, start with the consumers, because you're making decisions on your own. So to your comment around ChatGPT, just a quick show of hands. How many of you have used ChatGPT to help with your kids' homework?
Kids' homework.
Come on, you can admit.
Come on, you can admit it. We won't tell.
Yeah.
We won't tell.
Either you don't have kids or you haven't used ChatGPT, which you've used it.
Yeah.
So look, I think it's been transformational in our personal lives. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have 2 teenagers and calculus.
Right.
Give me 5 hard problems that I can give my kids. So this is truly transformative in our daily lives, but I think truly bringing that type of enterprise capability, we have to have some guardrails around it.
So that's a great segue to my next question. Applying that then to your work, in building products, how are you thinking about generative AI relative to the people, the processes, the tooling? Is this a reinvention opportunity?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Tyson.
Sure.
I think in general, I think it is. Always when we've innovated, we've always felt the best way to innovate is with our business together. That if it's just as IT in the background trying to build something, and if all of a sudden you build it and here it is, and IT says, look at this is beautiful. This is going to change your business. But all of a sudden the business says, well, you forgot a bunch of stuff. It's not going to work. It's not going to integrate the way we really see it to be. So what we're doing is really kind of following some small pods of people, really making them autonomous, really thinking about them in an agile way, giving them the leeway to test and learn. But it's a pod of people, which is IT with the business. It's with our marketing teams. It's with our customer service teams. People working together, trying to solve a problem. And sometimes the marketing and operations people, they can come and go, but it's maybe some more of that heavy lifting once things are kind of started is more within the IT team. But it really has to be a collaborative effort. And even with that too is, again, from a agile perspective, thinking about the outcome versus the output. It's just not getting something to market. It's like, thinking about how you're solving a problem, how is that really going to improve the travel journey, take out friction of that travel experience. And but it's that combination of the business working together with IT to solve the problem is the most effective.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, and I think it will. I think we've seen in other industries too, you bring those two together, you get real acceleration, and now combine that kind of organizational structure with these new generative technologies, you can certainly move at speed. So, Ravi, what do you think?
Yeah, very similar to John's experience. One of the things that worked really well for us, and we are a small company, we are about 600 some people in the company, it's a fintech company like I said. So we have to be very careful about how we bring new technologies. But we did use, just to bring technologies, people and processes together, we run hackathons, which I'm sure everyone has been part of here. And the idea was to really generate interest around the technology because everyone's got their daily jobs. So how do you bring that innovation in? How do you think about the capability that this brings and how we can solve customer experiences or products? That really helped kickstart the journey. But very soon, what we realized is we don't want anybody to put our IP into ChatGPT.
Right, yeah.
Right, so then we started with a centralized approach of, okay, we need some kind of a squad or a tribe that can talk to, evangelize the technology, evangelize how you use it, right? So really bringing the people, and do we have the right people, do we have the right skills, or do we need to bring partners on? And then how do we embed these skills and talent into our existing processes, into our existing product development processes?
Right.
So that's how we approach it. And it's not just product development, it's marketing. It's how do we increase maybe 200 basis points on our customer retention. Right? So how do I generate a customer sentiment based on all the interactions that we had, right, with this particular customer, maybe top 10 customers. I want a quick scorecard.
Right.
These are the types of things that we are solving using generative AI, but it really boils down to, do we have the right people in the right seats, and do we have the right processes so they can go after these use cases?
Sure. Great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We're doing a lot of the same, right? And I've talked to you both about it. We're doing our own research around how does this accelerate the entire software development lifecycle, where are the pitfalls, best practices, and then how do we scale that out? And when you think about all the technology trends we've all been through, in the end, a lot of those same patterns apply. I've got to have the right people, the right place, right tooling, and then the right mindset, to go after it. So it sounds like everyone's in pretty strong agreement, right? Generative AI, massive opportunity. Analysts predict that most of the value will be in 4 areas: customer operations, marketing and sales, software engineering, and R&D. Do you agree, and where do you expect to see the greatest impact for you and your organization and your business?
I think there's opportunities in a lot of those areas. I think right now we're investing quite a bit in the marketing and in how people shop for a vacation, how people find the right trip that kind of matches their interests, it matches their budget. How do you use that to kind of give more, if someone's looking for a really specific travel experience, you really can't do that through a bunch of filters or some of the old ways that people are looking at that, making that more natural language. So I think from the whole search part of travel, that's something that's one of the key industry problems that we're part of trying to solve. And the other part of it is customer service. And because everybody through travel, you've made a reservation and now you have to, it's complicated, I need to change. Part of my party wants to return early, some of the ones want to stay later. How do I even give the customer that policy, or what's the rules around that change that might have to happen? So that whole friction, again, that happens within the travel experience about customer service is something that's one of the big items that I see that's in place. So I think those are the 2 kind of business-led initiatives that we're working on. But the other thing in our business, for us, we are connecting to airlines, we're connecting to car rental companies, we're connecting to attraction providers around the world of how they might provide a travel experience while somebody's in destination. And for us in our industry, the huge issue is integration. How do you connect all this together? How do you do this without latency? How do you do this without a huge development effort? How do you do this as people change their systems that they survive and they heal themselves? And so that's the other problem, I think, from a software engineering perspective. We're really hopeful that AI brings to us is how do we really lower that cost for us to connect different systems together. I loved Jensen's viewpoint about how he's doing that from an architectural perspective. Yeah. But how can that same concept apply to integration of different systems? And even for us, integrating to credit card processors, integrating to banks, integrating to financial systems. That's a lot of the work that our team does. And I think all this, ultimately, I really think that's one of the promises for AI, that it kind of really lightens that load and allows that innovation to really happen within our industry.
I know personally I'm super excited to hear you're working on the customer operations, customer experience part, because it amazes me how many times I still have to make a phone call and go through a phone tree for 20 minutes to change a flight. Really? I know there's better ways. There's got to be better ways. So I look forward to that. Thank you. Ravi, what do you think about that?
Well, first off, I agree with you. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to talk to a chatbot.
Right.
Look, I think maybe it was McKinsey that put out this position paper on how much value is going to be created over the next few years with the advancements in generative AI. And they went back and looked at what was their position 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of the use cases, a lot of these different functions that you alluded to, they predict that there's been 4 to 5 years in advancement, and $2 to $3 trillion, right, with a T, right, of business value that's going to be either created or disrupted.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of value. The way we are approaching within our company is definitely more in the internal facing use cases. How do we become more efficient? How do we make sure that, for example, from a go-to-market perspective, what is our probability of this particular deal closing versus something else? Right? So we are associating and investing in that particular deal versus maybe somewhere else where our probability is very low. I think those are the kinds of use cases that we are much more open to experiment with because it's not regulated by the industry, right? It's our whole internal operation. So to your point, absolutely a high probability of seeing business value being unlocked in go-to-market, right? Whether it's marketing, can I get a pitch for a product
Right.
in maybe 10 minutes, right? You
Right.
give I do it in my daily life,
Yeah.
right? On important things that maybe need to be said, or like I said, helping kids, etc. Right? So there's definitely a lot of value to be unlocked in those segments. On the external facing front, we are looking at very, very similar areas. Right? So, for example, I was referring to a credit summary document, right? So can you actually help banks pull that together quickly? A lending officer, right now it takes 3 hours. Can we do it in 45? Can we give them a template?
Right,
That's another use case. Can we do can we bring together a AML or anti-money laundering report, right, on certain set of transactions automatically? So you don't have to, right now, an analyst at a bank, what they have to do is go through 5 different lines of data and say, do I see something here? And we have systems that help them with that, but can you actually transcribe it? Because we are humans, right? We are good at reading stuff in a natural language fashion. So how do we actually do? So there's certainly use cases from an external facing perspective as well that we are looking at.
Yeah, you know what strikes me with both your examples is just the speed this unlocks, right? How much faster you can try things, innovate, like the opportunity cost to try something is just dropping and dropping and dropping. So I want to try something new with marketing, I want to try something new in travel, like I can just try it, use this AI, maybe I don't like it, but the opportunity cost is basically 0, I can go faster, right? I think that's an unintended side effect that really doesn't get talked about enough, right? What is that? How do you measure that in the world of productivity, right? That's a huge number.
Yeah, one other thing, Tyson, is just in the banking industry, and it's just applicable just across the board, it's really, really hard to find good talent.
Right.
And retain.
Yeah.
So when you're in the midst of finding talent being a huge problem, how can Gen AI help? How can some of these systems help improve the efficiency of your existing team so they are not doing the grunt work that maybe a system can do for them, right? So we can move them up the value chain so they can focus on the right areas.
Yeah, we've actually looked at some of that as well, using generative AI to help us match people to roles, publish job descriptions faster. Yeah. And a lot of that, as you say, transcribing, searching, finding, all that's getting simpler and faster. So you raised talent. Let's talk about talent. How is your organization changing or adapting your talent strategy to embrace generative AI and foster a culture of innovation and collaboration between humans and these AI systems? John, what do you think?
Well, talent's probably the biggest challenge, and it's talent from many ways. It's not, first off, it's finding the right talent, the right mix that is. But the thing I think because that's always a problem. Always finding the right talent was probably the biggest problem. It's the problem this industry's faced for a long time. But maybe the thing that we really have been focused on is really making sure that those people, as we bring them on board, understand the business problem. They understand sort of the technology stack. They understand the customer journey. They understand the way the company makes money. Because I think as we bring in more digital talent, people that understand data, people that understand data science, they really have to understand that so they can tie that to outcomes. Because if they were just kind of doing that from a technical perspective, they really have to understand the business problem. So maybe the piece I'd say, because everybody has a talent problem, but the issue I probably would say is how do you focus on really onboarding those people, really making them understand the business, making sure that they are really aligned to what the business outcomes are that they're working towards, because that's the magic. The magic isn't just finding the right talent. I think you can find a AI to find you the right resume of somebody, but it comes back with all those other skills that people need to have for them really to be able to produce the right solutions.
Well, yeah, and in both your industries, right? There's a nomenclature. There's so many unique attributes and terms and technologies that are unique to your businesses that, sure, I can find someone who has perhaps the skills on a resume from their degree, but that doesn't mean they can be productive in banking tomorrow, right? That's a very different thing. What about you, Ravi? What other changes are you looking at around talent?
Well, first off, question to the audience. Maybe we'll see more hands this time. Are there any data scientists in the room?
No data scientists? We got one. Really? There's only one data scientist in the room?
There's a few.
There's a few over here. We got one over here.
Just leave your names and numbers on the front page. Look, it's really hard to find talent to your question, but I think the key point there that you raised is it's hard enough to hire data scientists as an example, right? But take that and match them with the domain that you want them to work on is incredibly hard. So the tax that we take is we have a really strong roster of development teams, engineering teams. How do we train them? How do we have them in some cases unlearn, right? Some of the things that maybe, for example, take Copilot, right? Development Copilot as an example. One of the things that you hear from folks that have used it is it's not great. Well, with any new technology, the first step is not great, right? But it's going to get better. It's going to get better as we continue to use it. So point being, it's really hard to find talent that has the right mix of skills and experiences that we look for, any industry. So the natural path is to how do we help our teams learn these technologies? What is the shortest or the least resistance path to get to some of the outcomes that that we are looking for? And it comes through sometimes, again, internal teams, sometimes partners, right? That's the approach that we're taking with talent.
Yeah.
One other thing, if you have time, to add is just as we build AI models, as an example, I've talked to the biases as one thing that we need to guard against. It comes, especially with generative AI, you have to have a diverse team. So you don't corner yourself into data that kind of is self-fulfilling, right? That's something that we take into account as well. And I recommend that anybody that's doing that always make sure that you have a diverse team, especially from a AI perspective that you're taking into account.
Ravi, that point about diversity, I think, is spot on, and I think it's another thing we try to work on, because diversity comes in so many different forms, and the more diversity, the better. It doesn't matter if it's the experience, the industry perspectives, and all the other types of diversity. It's really important for that to be on each productive team.
No, that's true, and as you say, it influences. It becomes ethical when it influences your data, and your data is driving the decisions of your business. There's a direct line, direct relationship there to how important the right data, having that unbiased data as part of your business. So thank you both very much. I hope I have learned a lot. I hope our audience has. It's valuable to learn from industry leaders like you, and great to be able to share your insights with such a great audience. Personally, as I think about it, I'm excited to think about these ideas, how we take them forward, how we use them to generate new value in the world, and I hope you're excited as well. So thank you very much.